So one of the things you've probably noticed so far is that when you're working on the Linux command line, you end up doing a lot of typing. And sometimes we're typing the same commands repeatedly or variations of the same command repeatedly. And we might want a way to simplify that. Now, there's a couple of different things we can do. One of them is using bash history. So bash is the shell that you're working in. So when we're talking about bash, that's what we're just talking about is the shell that we're using to interact with the operating system. So you can use your arrow keys, and your up and down arrow keys will cycle through commands in your history. And you can find the one that you want there. You can also issue the command history, and it will go through and show you your entire history. And then you can execute a command. Let's say I want to execute command 451. I can do exclamation point 451, and it will execute command 451 out of my history. You can keep things from coming into your history if you put a space in front of the command. That will make it so that that doesn't actually show up in your history, and that could be really useful if you issue a command that includes a password or something like that. You can also delete commands from your history. So let me pull up the history, and let's say I want to delete command number 450. I could do history-d 450, and that will remove that command. All right, so that's one way that we can do it. Another way we can do it is by using aliases. Now, you've probably noticed that I clear the screen a lot because I like having, and this is just a personal idiosyncrasy thing, I like looking at the top of the screen better than the bottom of the screen. It makes my screen cleaner. It allows me to focus a little bit better. So I end up clearing the screen a lot. And when I was working in DOS, my command to clear the screen was CLS. In fact, you may have noticed me a few times typing CLS instead of clear, which is the Linux command to clear the screen. Let's say I wanted to simplify that, and I want to do CLS instead of clear, where I can create a command alias. And this alias can be for a simple command, it can be for a long command, it can be for part of a command. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So the command we're going to use is alias, and I want my alias CLS to equal clear. And now when I type CLS, it will execute the command clear. Now I could simplify this a little shorter. Let's do alias C equals clear. But one key thing here is if you put spaces in it, like I just did, that command won't function. So I'm going to hit my up arrow, command history thing, and I'm just going to remove those spaces, and now I have an alias of C that will clear my screen. You can also do part of a command. So here's one. Let's say we're doing a lot of installs, and we have the command sudo apt install. Well, I can create an alias for that, and I'm going to just call it I equals sudo apt install. Actually, let me do an update because that's something I can actually execute here in a second. So let me do that as sudo apt update. And then I'll go ahead and create another one, alias I equals sudo apt install. So I'm going to do my update. So sudo apt update. And so my U just executes that for me. Now I can use my little alias here, and I can tell it to install a specific thing. So let me do I space tmux. And so now it runs sudo apt install and then tries to install the tmux, which is already installed. So that's why it didn't install anything for me. But you can see that it actually executed. Now, the drawback of this, let me exit my shell here. The drawback of this is that every time I exit my shell and come back in, all of my aliases are gone. So those aliases only stay while you're actually active. So I could write a script that would recreate these aliases for me, and then I could just execute that script every time. Alternatively, I actually have a file. So I'm going to do an ls-l, and you'll notice there's nothing here. But if I do an LA, it will actually show me all of my hidden files. By the way, notice down here, all of my hidden files start with a period. And one of those, humorously, one of those is your bash history, but one of them is bashrc, and it's .bashrc. So I'm going to open this up in my bashrc. Yeah, RC. There we go. Open this up in Nano real quick. And this is a script that runs every single time that I load bash. So, or I log into the system. Anything with this hash in front of it, that's a comment. So that tells it, this is a comment. Don't do anything. But the rest of it, you'll notice, and I'm using Nano, and you'll notice it's all colorized because it's recognizing the script here. So in this script, I can put aliases, and you'll notice right here, we have some aliases. And here we go. Here's some more ls aliases. So I can add, I'm going to add down here, do hash and personal command aliases. And I'm going to add alias C equals clear. And I'm just going to try to use that. So Control O to write out, Control X to exit, and then exit, relog in, and then C to clear my screen. So you can customize the function of bash by editing that bashrc file. And there's lots more things too. In fact, if you read through there, that's actually kind of a little education into bash scripting and configuring your environment. But that was just a quick little demonstration of how we can kind of customize our environment and simplify our workflow by creating aliases. Now, I tend to not try to use a lot of aliases, especially when I'm teaching or documenting something, because not everyone else is going to have the same aliases. So I tend to use standard commands rather than aliasing them. But if it's your system and you're customizing your system, having those aliases might be very beneficial to you.